you state your name and occupation for the jury?
Jerry Driver. I'm the Chief Juvenile Officer of Crittenden County.
And are you acquainted with the defendant?
Yes, I am.
Are you also acquainted with Damian Eccles?
Yes, sir.
And Jason Baldwin?
Yes, sir.
If you recall, when was the first time that you saw these three people together?
Around November 15th of 92, I believe.
All right, and where was this?
This was at Lakeshore Trailer Park.
Right. And what were you doing there?
I was out with a suspected drunk driver and on a street in Lakeshore, and the three of them walked by.
All right, who else was?
Officer Dollahite of the Sheriff's Office.
And who'd you say walked by?
Damien, Jason, and Jessie.
All right. And was this day or night?
It was nighttime.
And how were they dressed?
They all had on long black coats, and Damien had on a slouch hat, and they all had staffs.
What do you mean staffs?
Long sticks that they were walking with.
I don't have any further questions, John.
Can I address the witness from here?
Yeah.
What date was that on, Mr. Driver?
Around the 15th of November,
What year?
92.
92?
Mm-hmm.
And you say it was dark?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Why don't you may stand down? Wait a minute, Jerry.
Mr. Driver, that was the first time you've seen the three of them together?
Together, yes, sir.
All right. Had you seen the three of them together after that?
Yes, I have.
All right. I don't have any further questions.
All right, you're free to go. Call your next witness.
State your name, ma'am.
Stephanie Dollar.
Miss Dollar, where do you live?
Holland Trailer Park in Marion, Arkansas.
Okay. Is that the same trailer park in which Jessie Misskelley Jr. resides in?
Yes, it is.
Okay. If you will, how many folks witness around? If you will turn around, I believe it's State's Exhibit 2. Can you see if you can find Holland Trailer Park woman?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you look at the roads and stuff? Is that an accurate description of what Highland Trailer Park pretty much the layout is?
Yes.
Okay. Can you show me roughly where you live on Highland Trailer Park?
Right here.
Okay. You mind if we mark on your exhibit what you're shooting?
I don't have any difference to mark on it. I don't believe this.
Marking with this green highlighter, would you indicate where in Highland Trailer Park you reside? Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Take your seat. May not be able to see it very well. That is at the north. The streets in Highland Trailer Park have names on them.
No.
Okay, they don't have that. Okay, there's one street that looks like it going running north and south down through the middle of the trailer park. Is that correct? And you live at the north end of that street? What's your actual address? Well,
Route 2, Box 46, Marion, Arkansas.
Okay. In relation to where you live, where did Jessie Misskelley live?
There's a street, and then there's a trailer, and then there's his trailer, so it's
Okay.
just a couple of trailers.
There's a street your house runs on that runs.
My house runs at the
east and
T.
west. Okay, your house, the top of your house faces a street running east and west.
Yes.
Okay, you cross that street, then there's
A trailer, and then another trailer. No, this trailer is his.
second trailer's Jessie.
Yes.
Not very far.
No.
Okay. Are you friends with Jessie?
Yes, I am.
Would you like to see him come home?
Yes, I would.
Do you understand you're under oath?
Yes, I am.
Are you willing to lie for Jessie?
No, I am not.
You gonna tell the truth?
Yes, I am.
At this point, I'll object to leading. This is his witness. He's asked 4 leading questions in a row. He can ask open-ended questions and let her testify.
Forward leading.
Yes, Your Honor. There was something I was a little bit confused about when we started. What was Jessie's hairstyle on May the 5th, 1993?
He had lines that was drawn in on the side, and it was short on top.
Okay. the lines were in his hair at that time?
Yes, but the little thing on top was not on his head.
Okay. You know, I anticipate recalling this witness, but I wanted to clarify that before we went any further, so that's all I have for now.
You say you're gonna recall?
Yes, Your Honor.
You wanna do your cross now or later?
Your Honor, we'll reserve our cross-examination for a later time.
All right, you may stand down. You need to go back to the witness room. Call your next witness.
State your name, sir.
Joshua Gary Lynn Darby,
Mr. Darby, how old are you?
18.
Do you go to school?
No,
How long have you known Jessie Misskelley?
ever since we was about 9.
Okay. On May the 5th, where do you live now?
Highland Trailer Park.
Okay. Did you live in Highland Trailer Park on May the 5th?
Yes, sir.
Do you live in the same location in Highland Trailer Park now as you did then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you'll look, turn around behind you, sir, if I may approach him. This is State Exhibit 2. It has this is Highland Trailer Park. Can you indicate to the jury where you live in Highland Trailer Park? So that's where it's at.
On the back road.
Okay. Would you mind marking in green roughly where you live? Okay. Thank you, sir. Do you remember Tuesday, May 4th, 1993?
Yes, Jesse come over to my house at Little Trailer Park, at my mom's house, really. So I was staying at Highland, and he spent the night with me over there Tuesday.
Okay.
We got up.
Did y'all go roofing that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who'd you roof with?
Ricky Deese.
Okay, that's Tuesday, May 4th.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Jesse spent the night with you that night?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know what time you got with him that day?
Tuesday.
That afternoon? If you don't know, you don't know. So.
No, I don't
Okay.
know. Tuesday.
Were you with Jesse around the 9 o'clock hour?
In the morning?
No, the night on Tuesday night.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Did Jesse spend the night with you that night, though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, turning next morning on May 5th, what happened that morning?
Ricky picked us up at my house, my mom's trailer at Little's, about 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
We went from there to go roof a job.
Okay. So Ricky picked you up at 9 that morning?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Did Jesse receive a phone call that morning?
Not that I know of. I
Okay.
didn't.
Did you have a phone in that trailer?
No, sir.
Okay. You did not have a phone?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, do you remember where you went roofing on Wednesday, May 5th?
I don't know what street it was, but I can show them what it was. But
Okay. Do you recall how long y'all worked that day?
to about 12:30 or 1.
Okay. What happened at that point?
We went back to Highland. Ricky dropped us off at Jesse's house. And Jesse went in. He said he was going to go get him something to eat. And then after that, I went home and Jesse said he was going back down to Stephanie's house.
At this time, if I may interject objection, he's testifying as to what Jesse said. That's clearly hearsay.
Yes, Your Honor. Do you know what time you got back to? Okay. Where were you dropped off?
Right there in front of right there beside Jesse's, behind his trailer.
Okay. Who dropped you off there?
Ricky Deese,
He dropped you and who else?
me and Jesse.
Okay. And what did you see Jesse do? Don't tell me what he said. What did you see him do at that point?
He went in the house. And
Okay.
He said
Where did you go? Don't tell me
I
what he
went
said.
home. I
You went home?
at the time.
Okay. Did you run into Jesse again shortly thereafter?
Yeah, well after he met his girlfriend down at Stephanie's.
Okay. You saw him and his girlfriend down at Stephanie's?
Mm-hmm.
You know what time that was?
It was about It was around 4.
Okay. And Stephanie, is the house kind of crosses the T up there? Okay, all right. How long you lived in Highland Trailer Park?
Off and on for about 15 years.
You familiar with any cult activity?
No, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
You ever know Jessie to be involved in any kind of cult activity?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know if to your knowledge, did Jessie hang around with Jason or Damien?
No, sir.
Okay. After you saw Jessie and Stephanie, Jessie and his girlfriend and Stephanie's, did you see him anymore that day?
Jesse come down to my house after he got through talking to his girlfriend and stayed at my house for about 15 or 20 minutes. And he said he was going to his house. So
That was
that's
last
the
you saw him?
time I seen him.
Okay. That's all I have, John.
Mr. Darby, you gave a statement to police in regard to what you knew about Jessie Misskelley's whereabouts on or about the 5th of May. Is that correct?
Yes.
You never told the police anything about him spending the night at your house the night before, did you?
Yes, sir, I believe I did.
Okay. Was it in a handwritten statement that you gave to him? Your Honor, may I approach a witness? I'd like to show you a copy of a handwritten statement you gave to police on the 18th of June, which would have been approximately 15 days after Jesse's arrest. It's point out to me where in that statement you indicated to police he spent the night with you.
I don't think I put it on there.
You left that part off, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I understand your testimony correctly, you saw Jesse about 4:15 or 4:30 that afternoon on the 5th.
Yes, sir.
You didn't see him any later after that.
No, sir.
Now, Mr. Crow asked you, were you familiar, do you know anything about Jesse being involved in cult activity? Correct? Do you know anything about that?
No, I never did know anything about nothing like that.
Were you and Jesse pretty tight?
We was close.
Okay. Y'all were real close friends?
Real close.
Had been for about 9 years.
We've been close for a long time. Yeah, you could say that.
Okay. Were you familiar with his frequent huffing of gasoline? Where he had huffed gasoline to get high?
No.
You had never been around him when he did that in these past 9 years, is that correct? Okay, what about his frequent marijuana use? Were you around him when he did that?
It's to go to the credibility of this witness because he selectively says he doesn't know anything about his cult activity, but we can prove through their witnesses later on that he's done all these other things. And so his lack of knowledge regarding that is going to show that he has selective recollection about what he knows and what he didn't.
Your Honor, it's also related to his knowledge and acquaintanceship with this defendant. He claims to really know him. They've even said their own expert, Dr. Wilkinson's report says all this about the huffing gas and smoking dope.
Until Mr. Misskelley takes a stand, it's my bad action, not this one.
I think until he takes the stand, you can't go into his bad action. If this witness were called for his character and his reputation in the community, maybe so, but that's not what they put the witness up there for.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Darby, based on your knowledge, you don't have any idea what Jessie Misskelley did after you last saw him about 4:15 on May 5th, correct? Based on what you know.
He's, later on,
Okay.
after that, I seen, because he helped us move.
That night,
No, later on during the weekend, like on Friday and Saturday.
okay, on the night of May 5th, you saw Jessie at about 4:15 that afternoon, correct?
So,
And you didn't see him again until sometime later that week. As far as what he did from 4:15 till midnight that night, you had no earthly idea. No further questions?
You're gonna have to answer out loud.
no, sir.
I got an emergency telephone call. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess.
I had indicated I was going to pass the witness. I do have one last question. Mr. Darby, referring your attention back there to May 5th when you and the defendant were doing this roofing job, what kind of haircut did he have at that time?
A regular haircut that I noticed of.
Okay. And when you say regular, something kind of like the one you have now?
Oh no, he always kind of kept his short,
Okay.
on top.
Anything other than that distinctive about it? Kind of like his name? Would it look kind of like his hair now?
Yeah.
Okay. No further questions.
You need to speak up.
Mr. Darby, when the police were asking you questions about Mr. Misskelley's presence on May 5th, were they inquiring about where he was the night before, or were they inquiring about where he was that afternoon?
Where he was?
We object to hearsay. He's asking him what the police said or what the police said to him, and that requires a hearsay response.
Rephrase your question.
I'll let it pass, John.
No further questions.
All right, you may stand down. You're excused. You're free to go.
State your name, sir.
Ricky Deese.
What's your occupation?
Was a roofer when Jessie worked with me. I work at West Memphis Fence now.
You work at where now?
West Memphis Fence.
West Memphis Fence? Okay.
Yes, sir.
On May the 5th, what was your occupation?
Roofing.
Okay. Were you self-employed, or
Yes, sir.
how old are you?
28.
How long have you known Jessie?
He's since he was a little baby.
Okay. You friends with Jessie?
Yes, sir.
Did the week, do you remember what day May 5th was on?
Wednesday.
Okay. That week, did Jessie Misskelley do any roofing with you that week?
He worked with me Tuesday and went half a day Wednesday.
Okay. Wednesday morning, how did Mr. Misskelley get to the roofing job?
I went by and got him. He was at Little's Trailer Park
Okay.
with Josh,
He was,
Josh Darby, and little Jessie.
okay. So Mr. Misskelley was where that morning?
Little's Trailer Park
Okay. Where is that?
in Avalon.
Where?
End of Avalon.
Okay. That's a different trailer park than,
Yeah, where I live at.
okay. All right. You picked up Mr. Misskelley and who else?
Josh Darby.
Okay. And you know what time you picked him up?
About 9.
Okay. Where'd y'all go?
On Woodlawn in West Memphis off of Ingram.
What were you doing?
Roof.
Okay. How long did you use Jessie that day?
I used him all day Tuesday.
Okay. What about Wednesday?
Half a day. I dropped him off about 1 o'clock.
Okay. Where'd you drop him off at?
His daddy's
Okay.
out of the trailer park.
Who else did you drop off?
Josh.
Okay. Did you try to come back later and?
Yeah, I come back about 1:30. I told him that day that I probably wouldn't need him after lunch.
Said you probably wouldn't?
Wouldn't need him no more after lunch.
All right.
I mean, I dropped by to get him to help me clean up, but they was gone. His daddy said he was gone to Stephanie Dollar's house.
Okay. You ever known Jessie Misskelley to be involved in any kind of cult?
No, I hadn't known.
You ever know about any cult activity in that area? Okay. Do Do you know if at the house Josh was spending the night, Josh and Jessie were at on the night of May 4th to the morning of May 5th, do you know if that house had a phone?
It didn't.
It didn't?
It was his mama's house. It didn't have one.
You
It
sure
had
about-
a phone on by the store over there.
About phone by store?
A payphone.
Paper? Okay.
That's the only phone they used, because they didn't have one.
Thank you. That's what
My understanding, you dropped Jessie back off at the trailer park at 12:30 or so on the
12:30 or
5th.
1 o'clock.
Okay.
12:30 or 1 o'clock.
And then you went back around 1:30 and he
Yeah.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
You couldn't locate him?
I didn't look for him. I told him I probably didn't need him. If he was there, I was going to get him.
But as far
his
as
daddy told me he was at Stephanie's.
As far as what he did from 12:30 or 1 o'clock on the afternoon of May 5th until sometime the next day, you don't have any idea
No,
when.
I didn't
when,
see him after that.
when was the next time you saw him after
I
that?
seen him Thursday evening. He come down, he was playing ball down there by my house.
So from 12:30 on Wednesday until Thursday afternoon after work, you don't know
I
what he
don't
did.
know, I didn't see him since.
And you know that he was at Little's trailer park at 9 o'clock in the morning when you picked him up on the 5th, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you don't know when he got there?
No, sir.
Okay. No further questions?
All right, you may stand down. You're free to go.
State your name, man.
Susie Brewer,
And how old are you?
15.
Do you go to school?
Yes, sir.
Where?
Marion Junior High.
What grade are you in?
9th.
Where do you live?
In Highland Trailer Park.
Okay. You'll turn around behind you. There's a State Exhibit 2. Yeah, I figured it's Highland Trailer Park. You recognize that? Okay. Can you tell me roughly where you live there? That's where Stephanie lives, right there.
Right down here.
Okay. Other side? Okay. That's the T, and that's where Stephanie lives. Jessie's house is over here. Jesse's? Okay, so they're down here? Okay. There we go. About how far is that from where Jessie lives?
About a 2-minute walk.
What is your relationship with Jessie Misskelley?
I'm his girlfriend.
Okay. Do you understand you're under oath?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand you have to tell the truth today?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the day of May 5th?
Yes, sir.
You gave that day a lot of thought in the last
Yes,
few
sir.
months? Okay. Did you go to school that day?
Yes, sir.
How'd you get home from school?
I walked home.
Okay. Do you know what time you got home?
About 3:30.
And what'd you do when you got home?
I went to Stephanie's. That's where Jessie was, because he was babysitting Stephanie's kids.
Okay.
And she got back about 4 o'clock, and we went walking.
Okay. Did you go home before you went to Stephanie's?
No, my mama drove by, and I told her I was there with Jessie.
Okay. You went walking around the trailer park?
We went to Johnny Hamilton's.
Okay. You know about what time that was?
About 4:15. 4.
Did you have a watch on?
No, sir.
That afternoon, did you keep Jessie in your sight the whole time that afternoon?
Not the whole time. He was probably on my side about 15, 20 minutes.
How was that happen? One time or several times you stay out of your sight?
Well, the first time he went to McNease's, talked to him, and then I was standing in his yard when he was talking to Lewis.
Okay. So during the course of the afternoon, you were around Jessie? Okay.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Okay. You remember going to Johnny Hamilton's house for a while?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember sometime in the afternoon?
No object on leading. Avoid leading.
Was there a time in the afternoon? Do you know who Lewis Hoggart is?
Yes, sir.
Tell me, was there any contact between Lewis Hoggart and Jessie that afternoon?
Yes, sir. He was asking Jessie what was going on.
You can't tell what he said, but did you see him?
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Okay. Do you have any idea what time it was when Jessie and Lewis were talking?
Probably about 6:30. Not sure.
Okay. What did you see? Did you see what Jessie did after he got through talking to Lewis?
He went back to his house to get the mask, and he was letting little kids try it on.
Okay. So somewhere after that time, Jessie goes and gets his mask and is letting little kids try on his mask. You know who those kids were?
Cody Romero and Justin Romero.
Okay, Cody Romero and Justin Romero.
Yes.
Whose children are those?
Stephanie Dollars.
Stephanie Dollars. Do you know what was the last time you saw Jessie that night?
7 o'clock.
Okay. What was he doing?
I walked to Stephanie's, and when I walked, I looked in, and I was watching him walk to Roger's house to ask if he could go.
Okay. So, where's Roger's house in connection to Jessie's house?
Across the street.
Okay. And from Stephanie's house, you walked in her house?
I walked to her house.
Okay. And how'd you see Jessie?
She's got a door, and it's got a little piece of glass that you can look out.
Okay. All right. From that time on, do you know what Jessie did the rest of the night? I mean, personal knowledge, you've heard things, but do you know any personal knowledge what Jessie did the rest of the night after that?
All I know is he went to Deese.
Okay, but you've been told that, but you don't. But do you have any personal knowledge, first-hand knowledge of what he did from that point on? Do you see him again the rest of the night?
Mm-mm.
Have a minute here. Pass the witness.
Ms. Brewer, you're Jessie Misskelley's girlfriend, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How long has that relationship existed?
A year and 2 weeks.
Okay. So when did y'all first start seeing each other?
January 16th of last year.
And are you real good friends with Stephanie Dollar?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, that's where you said you were at on this particular afternoon of May 5th, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that pretty common for you to be over at her house around her kids?
Yes, sir. I go there every afternoon.
Okay. So as far as being there at Stephanie Dollar's house with her kids, nothing unusual about that. That happens every day.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, during this time period, was Jessie steadily employed? Was he working on a regular basis?
Yeah, he was working with Ricky Deese.
Was he working on a regular basis, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day?
No, sir.
Okay. Would he be over there pretty frequently with you over at Stephanie's too?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's nothing unusual about that. Now, you've indicated that Mr. Crow asked you, said, did you know where he went after you last saw him? And I believe you indicated you knew he went wrestling?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you didn't go wrestling with him.
No, sir.
How did you know that? Who did you talk to?
Because he goes every Wednesday night.
Okay. That's not what I asked you. If you would, who did you talk to? Did you talk with Fred Ravel about where he was that Wednesday night?
Johnny Hamilton.
Okay. So you talked with some other people about putting Jessie in a particular place on that particular evening?
Overruled, it's cross-examination, go ahead.
Have you talked with other people about times and places that Jessie was on that particular evening?
I knew he was there.
I didn't ask you that. Have you talked with other people about times and places that Jessie was on that particular evening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and in fact, you discussed it extensively with Stephanie Dollar, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you discussed it with a Johnny Hamilton? Is that correct?
Yes,
You
sir.
have to answer out loud.
Oh. Yes, sir.
Did you discuss it with a Fred Ravel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in fact, Fred Ravel was the first one who mentioned that he was in Dice wrestling on this particular night. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
And he brought that to your attention, correct?
They were talking about that day.
Fred Ravel's the one who brought to your attention that on the 5th of May they were in Dice wrestling. Is that correct?
And so did Johnny.
Okay. And Stephanie Dollar brought to your attention an incident that occurred at the trailer park on the 5th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I was there too.
Okay. But Stephanie Dollar is the one who mentioned to you that it occurred on that particular day.
Yes, sir.
And this Mr. Hoggard that you referred to, he's a neighbor to Jessie, is he not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it last week?
Ms. Brewer, after Jessie was arrested for this crime, did May 5th become an important date to you?
Yes, sir.
Become an important date to a lot of people in the trailer park?
Yes, sir.
Did y'all try to figure out what you remembered about that date?
Yes, sir.
You're not asking these refrain from leaving.
Sustain.
Nothing further.
All right, you may stand down. Do you want to keep her in the witness room or in the hall? All right, you need to go back outside, please, ma'am.
Ms. Dollar, you were the same person who testified a few minutes ago.
Yes, I am.
You recall you're still under oath?
Yes.
On the day of May 5th, when was the first time you remember seeing Jessie that day?
At 2 o'clock.
What happened?
I had a parent-teacher conference meeting, and he had came over, and I asked him if he could watch my children until I got home.
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
Were all those at home at that time?
No, they weren't. My 4-year-old at the time, he's now 5, was home, and then my other 2 was going to be getting off the bus, and I knew I would not be home in time to get them.
Okay. Who was the parent-teacher conference with?
Justin's teacher, Mrs. Stewart, Dr. McGrew, and myself.
Okay. And where was that conference to be at?
At Felix Elementary School.
Okay. If Jessie hadn't been there at around 2 o'clock, what were you going to do with your children?
I was going to bring them to my father-in-law's house.
Okay. Was it unusual for Jessie to babysit for you?
No.
Okay. He babysit for you how often?
A lot. At least 4 times a week.
Do you remember what time you got back from the parent-teacher conference?
It was about 4 o'clock.
Okay. Who was at your home when you returned?
Susie Brewer and Jessie.
Okay. What happened at that point with Jessie? Did he stay, leave? Or what?
Well, we stayed for a few minutes, and then Susie and Jessie left.
Okay. Were your children still at home at that point?
Well, they left and went down the street to a Johnny Deadman's house.
Okay. Is that some relative of yours?
No, just a friend.
Okay. And what did you do?
Well, I stayed at the house for a few minutes, and then I left and went down to Johnny Deadman's.
Okay. What happened at Johnny Deadman's house?
Well, when I got there, my husband told me that a Connie Molden had slapped my son off the bicycle.
Which child is this?
Cody.
Okay. How old is Cody?
He was 4 at the time. He's 5 now.
Okay. What did you do in response to that, receiving that information?
I called the police.
Okay. Do you know what time it was when you called the police?
It was around 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Around 8 and 5.
Okay. What happened?
Well, we waited for a while, and they didn't show up, and then when they did, they went down to my house. and I seen him leaving the trailer park, so I went back into the house and called the police and the dispatcher and told him that I had seen the police leave, that I was down at Johnny Dedman's for them to come back because I was at Johnny Dedman's, not at my house.
Did the police know where Johnny Dedman's house was to get there?
No.
Okay. So did you ever meet up with the police?
Yes, the dispatcher told me to meet him at the four-way stop sign.
Okay. Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Who went to the four-way stop sign?
My husband.
And yourself?
And myself.
Okay. Do you recall talking to an officer at that point?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What did you relate to the officer?
I told him what Connie had done, this incident that had happened, that she had slapped Cody off the bicycle.
Okay. Do you know what officer that was?
Officer Dollahite.
Okay. What did Dollahite then leave and you left? What happened next?
Well, he left, and then I just walked right back, by the house.
How long did it take you to get from the four-way stop back to, when you say the house, excuse me,
Johnny Dedman's house.
John Dedman's house. How long did it take you to get back from the four-way stop to Johnny Dedman's house?
10 seconds. It was just right there.
Okay. And what ensued?
Well, we was standing around, and Jessie was standing at the corner on the bicycle, and then the lady came over, her and her husband came over.
Excuse me, let me interrupt. You said the lady.
Connie Molden.
Okay.
Came over, and her husband Melvin came over, and her husband asked my husband if he was going to have Connie arrested. My husband said yes, and they really started arguing really bad, and I thought they were beginning to get into a fight.
Okay, did anyone pick up anything? Or?
Yes, Connie's husband picked up a shovel.
Okay. Did your husband pick up anything?
He went to his truck and got a roller handle.
Okay. That concerned you?
Yeah.
So what'd you do?
I went back and called the police.
Okay. What happened at that point? Did the police come back?
Well, yeah, 3 cop cars came back within just a few minutes. It was no time at all. And they pulled up at Connie Molden's house and talked to her for a few minutes, and then they left.
Okay. During the time that you see Jessie Misskelley Jr.?
And when the police left, he came and talked to me.
Okay. During the time the police were there, did you see Jessie?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Where was he standing?
Where was he standing? He was standing the street is like this. It's a 4-way stop, and he was standing on the street over here, and I was standing in the yard over there.
Okay. After the police left, did you have a conversation with Jessie?
Yes, I did.
Okay. You can't tell me what Jessie said, but what was the conversation? Don't tell me what he said. What was the conversation about? The general nature of the conversation. Why were y'all talking?
He just came and told me what Connie told the police.
Okay, he was telling you what he overheard the officer
say.
Do you know what time it was when all this was occurring?
It was between 5 and 6:30 because the police officer arrived at 6:30.
Okay. Let me have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw Jessie in relation to the police officer being there? Whatever time that turns out to be. When was the last time you saw Jessie after that?
About 6:45.
Okay. So you're saying 6:45, or you're saying 15 minutes after the officer left?
Well, the officer arrived at 6:30, and then I called the other officer, and it was just a matter of minutes, so it was between 6:30 and 7.
Okay. After Jessie and you had a conversation, did you see him any more that night?
Not after I had the conversation with him.
Okay. Yeah, that's all.
Ms. Dollar, are you familiar with that haircut Jessie had when he got arrested, that pigtail on the top?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And I believe you indicated in a statement to Officer Birch that he didn't have any of that unusual haircut on the day of the 5th. Is that correct? That occurred sometime afterwards?
He didn't have the 8-ball on top of his head, and he didn't have the rooster cut on top of his head.
Okay. Your husband's the one who cut his hair, correct?
Yes, he is.
Okay. And you told the officers that had occurred sometime after this particular incident. Is that correct?
Which haircut?
The haircut with the pigtail on top.
That happened after the 5th.
Okay. And you indicated that you were good friends with Jessie. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
In fact, you knew him long before you even moved out there in the same trailer park. Is that true?
Yes, I did.
Okay. In fact, some 3 to 4 years before you moved into that trailer park, you'd been friends of his, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in statements to police, you indicated that Jessie actually came right up to the car where you were talking to a police officer. Is that true?
Well, the corner is right here, and the car was right here. I mean, it wasn't exactly up against the car, but he was standing close to the car.
Okay. It said in your statement to the officer, you said you took Jessie up there to the car so he could hear what the lady was saying. Did you actually take Jessie up to the police car?
I never told anyone that.
It's in a transcribed statement. Are you indicating that you recall giving a statement to Stan Birch, a tape-recorded statement to Stan Birch regarding your activities on the afternoon of May 5th?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And if the transcription of that indicates that you said, all right, I took Jessie up there to the car so he could hear what the lady was saying, are you saying that's inaccurate?
Yes, it is, because I wasn't even there. The police officer went to Connie Molden's house. She never came to where I was at. The police officers went and talked to her.
Okay. And is it also your testimony that your initial call that the police officers went to your trailer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I seen him leaving the trailer park. He had come in, Dollahite had come into the trailer park, went down to my trailer, and left the trailer park, and then whenever he was leaving the trailer park, I seen him. So I went back and called the police again.
Okay. So it's your testimony that when you first called on that date, that Officer Dollahite went to your trailer. Is that correct?
Well, he said that he went down to my trailer.
Well, you just testified that you saw him go down to your trailer. Is that accurate?
Well, I seen him go down towards my trailer. I don't know if he pulled into the driveway.
Now, on that particular day, did Jessie and Susie Brewer babysit for your kids?
She showed up while Jessie was babysitting, and she helped him when she got there.
Okay. So Jessie was the babysitter, and she just happened to show up?
Yeah, and she helped him.
Was that unusual for them to babysit with your children?
No, it was not.
How many times a week would that happen?
At least 4 times a week.
Okay, so nothing unusual about that?
No.
Nothing unusual about them being over there together?
No.
Okay. And in fact, the police coming out to that trailer park, they had been out there the day before, hadn't they? Nearly at the exact same time?
On which day?
On May 4th.
I don't know if they came to my trailer May 4th.
Okay.
The police officer never came to my trailer May 4th.
They had been at the trailer park on May 4th, hadn't they? The day before?
I don't know that.
Now, you indicated that that Jessie and Susie Brewer went to Johnny Dedman's, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And is Johnny Dedman the same as Johnny Hamilton?
No.
They're 2 different people, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But you saw them go to Johnny Dedman's?
I seen him going towards Johnny's.
Did you see him go in?
No, I did not.
And when was that?
That was May 5th. That was when the police and stuff were out there.
When the police were there, how far would you say Jessie Misskelley was from the police vehicles?
From about me to about the corner of this desk right here,
Okay.
to where you're standing.
No more than 5 yards?
Yeah, he was very close.
Okay. And how many people do you place being out there around those, in that, well, let's say 5 yards or closer to the police vehicles? How many people do you put out there in that vicinity?
Well, it was me, my husband, Bubba Ashley, Connie and Melvin Molden, Pat Ashley. There was quite a few of them.
Okay, so you've named 6 people, including yourself?
I mean, there was more than that. I mean...
Within 5 yards of that police car?
Oh, I thought you meant you was asking me who was there at the time.
Yeah, within 5 yards of that police car, that close?
It was Bubba Ashley and Jessie.
Okay, so there was only 2 people that close to the police car?
And me and my husband was at the police car at the time.
Okay.
And Charles Ashley we was on the side of his house, and he was mowing his yard right there.
Okay, so Charles really wasn't up there, he's just mowing his yard?
Okay, now that's Charles Ashley Sr., and Bubba is Charles Ashley Jr.
So there's actually 3 people there within 5 yards of the police vehicle?
Yeah, Jesse and Bubba was on this side, and Charles Ashley Sr. was on this side.
How many police vehicles were there at that time?
That was when Dollahite was there. That's when I seen Jesse the first time.
Okay.
This was before the other 3 police officers arrived.
Did Jesse continue to stay there according to your testimony?
Until after the other 3 police officers left, and he came and talked to me, and then he left.
Okay, so he was still there when the other 3 officers arrived?
That's when he came. That's when Connie talked to the police officer, and Jesse was standing, I guess, somewhere around there, and then he come back and told me what Connie had told the police officer.
But he was standing in close, you say when the other 3 officers arrived, he's in close proximity to their vehicle?
I guess he was. I didn't see him at that police car.
But it's according to your testimony, he's relating things that went on there?
After the police officer left.
So he would have been close enough to be within earshot, is that correct?
Yes.
One second, John. Pass the witness, John.
Ms. Dollar, has your child ever been slapped by Connie Molden before this?
No.
Since this?
No.
Okay. Did your husband and Mr. Molden ever get into a fight, or almost get into a fight, over your child being slapped, other than this day?
No.
Okay. You're sure about that?
Yeah, I remember something like that.
Okay. That's all.
Like your name, stand up. Call your next witness.
There's got to be more than one really fine.
Well, you recess now, but do you have a witness that's going to be short?
We have some several giving you right list.
You know, we can take care of Officer Dollahite right quick so we can get back to West Memphis if you'd like.
Oh, all right, let's do it then.
James Dollahite.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter now pending before the court, so help you God.
Would you please state your name for the court?
James Dollahite,
And where are you employed, Officer Dollahite?
Crittenden County Sheriff's Department.
Okay. Were you on duty on May the 5th of 1993?
I was.
Okay. Do you remember being dispatched to the Highland Trailer Park that evening?
Yes, sir.
Remember what time that was?
It was 6:30 p.m.
Can I approach the witness, Your Honor? Do you recognize that document, officer?
Yes, it's a duplicate of that day's radio log.
It says, if I'm reading this correctly, that you were out at the Deadman residence for reference to a complaint from Dollars.
I received a call down there, yes, sir, but I was not out at the Dollar residence.
Okay. Now, when that says called by 619, is that your unit number?
That's my unit number, yes, sir.
Okay, so that means you called in and told the dispatcher that you were there at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What does 1831 mean for somebody like me that doesn't know anything about military time?
6:31.
Okay. Now, did you go out there a second time, officer?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what time was it that you went back out the second
That was
time?
6:31.
6:31? Okay. Your Honor, we'd like to offer the log sheet for the dispatcher into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right.
It's a complete log sheet.
All right, it may be received.
I believe that'd be number 4 for us.
I don't have any objection.
I believe that's our 4th exhibit. Mark it as such. May I exhibit it to the jury?
Yes.
Tell the court and the jury, please, what happened the first time that you went out there.
I arrived on the scene. I met with the complainants, a Bobby Dollar and a Stephanie Dollar, in reference to a complaint that he was making on a subject by the name of Connie Molden, in reference to a battery complaint which he alleges she pulled his hair and pulled him off his bicycle.
Okay. When you first got out there, did you go to the wrong place the first time?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you ever go to the Dollar trailer?
No, sir.
Okay. How many squad cars were out there that
On the first complaint,
mm-hmm.
myself.
And the second complaint?
Myself.
No other vehicles present? No other squad cars?
The third complaint,
How many were there then?
that was myself, 2 Marion police units.
Okay. Now, you told the West Memphis Police Department that you don't remember seeing Jessie out there while you were there. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I've got to object to leading.
Rephrase your question.
Do you recall making a statement to the West Memphis Police
Your
Department?
Honor, I object to leading.
Judge, I don't know how else to ask the question.
You can
I'm
ask
asking.
whether or not the person was there or not.
Well, I'm gonna allow you to ask him about a previous statement, but you've got to first give him an opportunity to either admit or deny that he made a statement. I mean, you just ask him whether he made a statement? Is that what you're asking?
At this point, what he's asking is not consistent or inconsistent with anything the witness has said.
Well, I understand that, but I'm gonna allow him to say, did you or did you not make a statement?
That's what I was asking.
All
Your
right,
Honor.
go ahead.
You need me to repeat the question, Officer
No, sir,
Dollahite?
I submitted a handwritten statement to the West Memphis Police Department, yes, sir.
And what was the contents of that statement?
Contents of that statement, they requested whether or not I saw Jessie Misskelley any time in Highland Trailer Park,
While you were there on this call?
on all 3 calls.
Okay. And do you remember seeing Jessie there?
He was
that night?
not there.
Is it possible that he was there and you just don't remember it?
No, sir.
How can you be so sure, Officer Dollahite? Is it just that you want to be sure, or that
Let
you
him
are
answer the
sure?
question.
No, sir, I did not see Jessie Misskelley there.
Well, how can you be sure that he wasn't there and you just didn't see him?
If he was in, I'm not saying he wasn't in Highland Trailer Park. I'm just saying he
Nothing
was
further.
not where I was.
Your Honor, before I pass the witness, I would like to offer his incident report into evidence as well. We talked about that previously in chambers.
You talking about the police report?
Yes, Your
Are
Honor.
you objecting to it?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
All right, my same ruling.
Where's the exhibit? Have you passed the witness?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Deputy Dollahite, I want to show you it's been marked or introduced as Defendant's Exhibit 4, and give you a highlighter here. And if you could highlight the times on here when you went to Highland Park on May the 5th. Okay, and are all of these at Highland Park?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All those are highlighted from the
All right.
times the call was received, the
What
times I got on
time-
the scene.
I noticed that what you've marked is every one of them shows 619, except for some of them show 619 and 42 and 32. What is the 619?
The 619 is my unit number.
Okay, and who's 42?
That's Marion City unit, and the other one will be a Marion City unit.
All right, the 32 would be a Marion City unit
Yes,
too?
sir.
All right, what time was the first time that you went out to Highland Park on May the 5th?
I received a call at 6:17.
6:17.
I arrived on the scene at 6:27.
All right, well, let me stop you right there and ask you a question about that. All right, you received a call at 6:17, and beside on Defendant's Exhibit 4, it says 1019 Bobby Dollar Residence, Highland Park, rate a battery complaint. Does that mean that you were at the Bobby Dollar Residence?
No, sir.
All right, what does the 1019 mean?
The 1019 means acknowledge that I had received the call to go to that residence at 8:17.
All right, and did you start out that way when you got that call?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, did you make it to the Bobby Dollar Residence?
No, sir.
All right, if you look on this map up here of Highland Park, you can take my red pen and circle, of course this is West Memphis down here, Highland Park up here. If you could circle the general area where the Bobby Dollar Residence is located.
Bobby Dollar Residence is located somewhere in this area here.
All right. And when you were going to, responding to this call, where did you go? How did you go to get there?
I came the service road, which is adjacent to Interstate 55 North.
Okay. And again, if you could take this yellow marker and highlight the route that you went, and then where you turned into Highland Park.
Came down the service road. Turned into Highland Park at the first entrance.
Okay. And after turning into Highland Park at the first entrance, where did you go?
I stopped at the intersection here and met with the Dollars.
All right. Now on the map, it shows that road kind of dead end in there, and then going to the left. Does it actually go all the way through?
This
street right here.
your map has got me confused here. This doesn't show the entrance. This will be the first entrance. The second entrance is the entrance at dead end.
Okay. We got a first entrance and then a second
Yes,
entrance.
you've got two entrances into Highland Park.
Okay. But you met the Dollars right here on the corner.
I met them at the intersection with the stop sign.
Okay.
Which is a through intersection, east and west and north and south.
Okay. Now this, let me get this other map. Is this map accurate as opposed to that one?
Yeah, this one shows one intersection, this map shows two intersections.
All right, so is it more accurate that this street ought to go all the way through this one?
This street should come here.
Let me look at it, see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the first entrance. Is that right?
The fourth one is the first entrance.
All right, so this is the fourth one, right? So this street ought to come on out here, right? And this street ought to come on to this one.
Both
Those
entrances.
entrances somewhere else.
Both
That's what the
entrances.
relevance of this is.
Well, Your Honor was asking questions about it, and if the map of Highland Park that's on this is not accurate, we ought to be able to develop that.
All right, go ahead.
There are two entrances in Highland Park.
All right, we got one here and one here, right?
The dead end entrance is the last entrance. This map is incorrect. This entrance should be here.
All right, well, after the, all right, how many streets from this entrance is it to the north, the last street on the north end?
There are 4 crossways.
All right. 1, 2.
Here on this map, which is the layout of Highland Park.
Okay, is this the accurate on this
Yes,
map?
on this map it is, yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, can we offer this map?
So where we are.
Here's Highland Park right there.
There.
Mm-hmm.
Also, two entrances.
Yeah.
I don't have any objection now.
All right, it may be received, without objection.
There ain't one of your stickers. I'll make it. Yep. 105. C. B. 105B. All right, I'm going to mark this 105B. All right, so the map up here isn't exactly accurate.
No, it's incorrect.
All right, but this one on 105B is Highland Park.
Yes, that is
Yes,
correct.
would you circle the Highland Park area with that red pen so the jury won't have... Okay. All right, now you came to the first entrance from the north, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, you let go of it now. All right, now you can retake the stand too. All right, after you came to the first entrance from the north, you turned off the service road and you went down to the first intersection.
The first intersection.
All right, and who did you meet there?
Bobby and Stephanie Dollar.
All right. And did you take a report there?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. And is that when you were there at 627, which is the second entry on Defendant's Exhibit 4?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, after taking this complaint, did you go back out there?
Yes, sir, I received a second call.
All right. What time was that?
That was received that call at 18:31, which would be 6:31.
Okay. Now, let me back up. On the first time you were there, did you see the defendant?
No, sir.
All right. Are you acquainted with the defendant?
Yes, sir.
On the second call, when you got there at 6:31, did you see the defendant?
No, sir.
If he had been within 5 yards of your car, would there have been anything to prevent you from seeing him?
No, sir.
All right. When did you go? Did you have another call there?
Yes, sir, received another call at 18:43, which is 6:43. I arrived on the scene at 6:47, which is be 18:47 according to the radio law.
Okay. And who was there at that time?
It was myself, Officer McCafferty, and Officer Jason Oliver.
Okay. Now, on this occasion, did you see the defendant?
No, sir.
All right. All right, and did you have any other calls?
No, sir, that was the last call.
All right. What is this one at 1859?
That's when I checked in service, the two Marion units checked in service. Completed.
Is that after completing what you were doing at
Yes,
home?
sir.
All right. All right, now. Did you ever that day actually go to Stephanie Dollar's residence?
No, sir.
All right. Did you even drive by her house?
No, sir, I don't recall.
Okay. Were you familiar and acquainted with the defendant before May the 5th?
Yes, sir.
Do you know about how long you've been acquainted with him?
I've been knowing the family for approximately 22, 23 years.
Okay. Of course, you hadn't been knowing the defendant that long,
No,
obviously.
sir.
Okay. But been also acquainted with him during that period of time, too?
Yes, sir.
Oh, the first time that you went out there and met with the Dollars, when you were talking to, how many other people were around the car?
Myself, Bobby Dollar, and Stephanie Dollar.
Okay. There weren't anybody else standing around the car that
No,
you
sir.
saw?
No, sir.
All right. How about the second time you went out there?
There was myself, Connie Molden, and several youngsters.
Okay. When you say youngsters, what age are you talking about?
Ages 3 to maybe 8.
Okay. And the last time you went out there?
I was myself, Connie Molden, her husband, her children, several other neighborhood children.
Okay. But not the defendant?
No, sir.
I don't have any further questions.
All right, you may stand down. Any reason to keep him in attendance?
No.
You're free to go.
Thank you, ma'am.
And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you may stand in recess until 1:15 for lunch with the usual admonition not to discuss the case among yourselves or with anyone.
Mr. Darby, you testified earlier this morning.
Yes.
Remember, you're still under oath. Okay.
You're going to have to answer out loud now. And sit up and talk into the microphone.
All right.
Mr. Darby, one thing I realized later wasn't very clear. Did Jessie Misskelley spend the night with you the night of May 4th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Earlier you informed the jury where you resided. Is that where you spent the night with Jessie?
No, I spent the night with him at Little's.
Okay, that's what I was confused about. It wasn't at your house, it was in a different trailer park? Yeah. Okay, who lives out there?
My mom.
Okay, that was at your mom's trailer. Okay. Is that the place where you talked about didn't have the phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's where the pay phone's at the store or something nearby?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, you may stand down. Speaking of the microphone.
Yes.
State your name, sir.
Charles Allen Ashley Jr.
Okay. What do you go by?
Bubba.
Have they called you Bubba?
Yes.
Where do you live?
Highland Trailer Park.
Okay. In connection with Jessie Misskelley's trailer, where do you reside?
It's about 3 or 4 trailers, or 4 down the street from me.
Okay. Same side of the street or different
No,
side?
sir, it's on the corner and his is down the road.
Okay. How old are you?
17.
You go to school?
Yes.
Where do you go to school?
Marion High School.
What grade are you in?
10th.
10th grade. Okay. How long have you known Jessie Misskelley?
All my life.
Okay. Are you related to Jessie?
Yes.
How are you related?
He's my cousin.
Okay. You understand you're under oath?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember an incident in May where the police were in the trailer park?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about what was going on?
Well, the
the neighbors next door, they got in a fight for hitting
Let me interrupt you. Who are the neighbors?
Connie and Melvin Moden and the Dollars.
Okay. Do you know what they were arguing about?
About Connie Moden hitting Cody
Okay.
Dollar.
All right. Were you present when some of this argument and discussion was
Yes.
going on? Okay. Tell me a little more about it. Did
Well,
police
they-
come or?
Yes, sir. The police come. They come in from both directions of the park,
Okay.
and then
Do you know how many police cars came?
about 3, 4, something like that. I couldn't.
All right. You were present when that happened?
Yes.
Okay. Who else was present?
Me, Jessie Misskelley,
Junior or senior?
Junior.
Okay.
My mom,
Who's your mom?
Patsy Ashley.
Okay.
My dad was out in the yard mowing it. So.
Okay. And who else? Anybody else around? Do you remember?
And the Dollars and.
Was your sister there?
Yes, sir. She was.
What's your sister's name?
Jennifer Lynn Ashley.
Okay. And you remember Jessie Misskelley being there?
Yes, sir.
Are you positive about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was he doing?
I seen him walking down the street, and I met him on the corner, and we started talking.
Okay. In relation to the police cars, where was he?
We was on the corner about 8 yards away from a police car.
Okay, about 8 yards?
Yes.
Okay. What'd y'all do?
We was talking about him fixing to leave to go to Deese to go to wrestling.
Okay. Did y'all stay there while the police cars were there?
Yes, we stayed there for a little bit, and then Jesse said he had to go, so he left.
Okay. Second.
Mr. Ashley, when was it you first realized, or somebody brought to your attention, that you had supposedly seen Jessie on the 5th of May?
Can you rephrase that question, please?
When did somebody come to you with some information and say, Bubba, remember May 5th? Remember seeing Jessie on that date? Did somebody come and mention that to you?
No, sir.
Okay. Did anybody ever show you a police report from that day?
Stephanie had a police report, but I don't recall. It was about the argument or something about what time the police arrived and stuff.
Well, did she come, you said that she had it. How did you happen to see it?
She gave it to my mother, and my mother had it on her desk, and she showed me.
Okay. Now, did you know why it was that she gave that incident report to your mother?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. Was it your impression that that was done so that you could refer to that police report in trying to place this incident on May 5th?
No, sir.
Did you look at the police report?
I just glanced at it. I didn't pick it up and read it.
Fact of the matter is, that's where you picked up your time, wasn't it?
No, sir.
Yes, Your Honor, I believe that's about 8 times.
Well, it's cross-examination.
Do you remember giving a statement to Officer Allen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you remember stating to him that you didn't know what time it was, but that Stephanie Dollar had showed you a police report?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you saying that's not true, or you just don't recall?
I just don't recall.
Okay. So if Officer Allen has in his report that you said that Stephanie Allen showed you or Stephanie Dollar showed you a report, then you wouldn't deny that. You just say you don't remember.
No, I just don't remember.
Okay. Now, you indicated that when you saw Jessie that evening, he was walking down the street by himself. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And when the police cars are out there, he's standing on the corner talking to you.
Yes.
Okay. And you were out there most of the time?
Yes, sir. I was helping my dad in the yard, and then he come and I went out on the corner and met him.
Okay. So the police are there, you're there, And Jesse's on the street corner talking with you while the officers take care of business?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's as true as everything else you testified
Yes,
to?
sir.
Now, you're also familiar with Jason Baldwin, right?
Yes, sir.
And him and Jesse used to hang out together a whole bunch, didn't they?
Yes, sir.
Jack, that's not inside the scope across the way.
They used to hang out together a lot,
Yes,
right?
when Jesse lived in the trailer park at Lakeshore.
Okay. And they were close friends, would you say?
No, they just hung out and went places together.
And Jessie Misskelley Jr. is your cousin, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Have you talked with Jesse Sr. about what your testimony was going to be here today?
No, sir.
Okay. You talked with Stephanie Dollar about what your testimony was going to be
No,
here today?
sir.
Talk with anybody about what your testimony was going
No,
to
sir.
be? Mr. Stidham?
No, sir.
Okay. Nobody talked to you at all other than Officer Allen before you took the witness
No,
stand?
well, yesterday, I don't know which one it was, but he gave me my subpoena and then just told me when to be here.
Pass the witness.
Watch your name, stand down, you're free. Watch your name. Call your next witness.
Christy Jones.
Were you sworn just a few minutes ago?
Yes, sir.
Could you please state your name for the court?
Christy Jones Moss.
And Miss Jones, you said Moss.
Yeah.
Have you recently married?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know Jessie Misskelley?
Yes, sir.
How do you know him?
We were friends
How long have you been friends with Jessie?
for almost 2 years.
Okay. Do you remember May 5th, 1993?
Yes, sir.
And how do you remember May 5th, 1993?
Because I remember Jesse being at his house with me, and I remember seeing him with Susie, and I remember him being down there when the cops were called.
Okay, what are you talking about when the cops were called?
When Connie pulled Stephanie's little boy off his bicycle.
Is that how you can remember May the 5th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you tell the jury when you seen Jesse, what times of the day that you seen him on May the 5th?
The first time I seen him was about 4:30, and we were over at Johnny Hamilton's house, and him and Susie came in. And then when they left, she went home, and he went to his house, and I went over there. And then we were sitting out on his front porch. And
Now his being Jesse's
front porch.
Okay.
And Stephanie Dollar pulled up in her car, and Jesse went out to the street to talk to her. And they were talking about what happened with the cops. And then Susie's mom, Beverly, pulled up on the other side of Stephanie and was talking to Stephanie. And then when they both left, some little kids came up riding up on their bicycles talking to Jesse. And then he came back, and we went to Johnny Hamilton's for them to get
Now, wait a
ready to
minute,
go to
let me stop
Dice.
you there. When you say we went to Johnny Hamilton.
Me and Jesse.
Okay. Anybody else with you?
No, sir.
Okay, then what happened?
Then they sat around there for a few minutes, and then they got in the car and they left to go to Dice.
Okay, now when you say they left to go to Dice, who are you talking about?
Jesse, Johnny, Roger, Fred, and a guy named Bill.
You actually seen them get in the car and leave?
Yes, sir.
What time was that?
A few minutes after 7.
Pass the witness.
With the bill that you're talking about that you say went with him, would that be a guy named Bill Cox?
I'm not sure what his last name was. I just know they called him Bill.
Okay, and you said they left about what time?
A little after 7.
Okay, was it daylight or dark?
I don't remember.
Can you picture in your, I assume you're testifying from your recollection? You're testifying from your own recollection about what you remember about May 5th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, from your recollection, do you remember when these people got in the vehicle and left, whether it was daylight or dark?
I say it was probably just about turning dark. Okay. It was still, you know, a little light outside, but it was just about turning dark.
Okay. Do you remember if they had their headlights on?
No, sir.
Now, were you employed at Shoney's during that period of time, during the spring of 1993?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you remember talking to the police officers, Brian Ridge, and giving them a handwritten signed statement? You remember doing that?
Yes, sir.
And you remember telling them that you were working at Shoney's restaurant during the evening hours from the last of April for about 6 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you working during the evening hours back in May of 1993?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you talked with Officer Ridge, did you ever mention to him, make any statement, any indication at all that you had seen Jessie Misskelley on the night of May 5th, 1993?
I don't remember.
Okay. Let me show you your statement. And this was, by the way, you talked with officers back in October of last year, is that right?
Yes, sir. That sounds about right.
And at that point in time, you knew that Jessie was in jail
Yes, sir.
on these charges. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you knew that the key date involving all these charges was what happened on May 5th. Is
Yes,
that right?
sir.
Okay, so you knew it was real important where Jessie was on May 5th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you do recall talking with Officer Ridge.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like you to, if you could, is that your signature at the bottom of that statement?
Yes, sir.
If you could look through that and point out to me where it was you tell Officer Ridge there about seeing Jessie on the afternoon or evening of May 5th.
Nowhere.
Well, now, you're wearing one of these yellow ribbons for Jessie too, right?
Yes, sir.
And that signifies that you're part of a movement to get Jessie out of jail, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that something that's cropped up since October? Have you become a part of that movement since October of 93?
No, sir.
Call it a movement, I think. The victim's families are wearing ribbons and the defendant's families are wearing ribbons. That's not a movement. Judge Ray.
I'll rephrase it, Your Honor.
Rephrase it.
Have you become part of that group since October of 93 when you talked to police?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, did you intentionally not tell them that? Or have you just remembered it since October of 93?
No, the reason that they told me they wanted me to come in there was because I was supposed to be in the cult. That's all they said. They didn't want to know nothing else. And every time I tried to tell them something about little Jessie, they didn't act like they listened. They changed the subject.
So you made a concerted effort to tell them that you were with Jessie on May 5th,
I told
and
them I
they just
seen
wouldn't
Jessie.
listen to you.
Yes, sir. Every time I started talking about, Jessie as a friend or something, they just changed the subject about the cult.
But they did ask you what you were doing in the evening hours as far as what your work schedule was in the evening hours back in April and May of 1993.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you curious? That didn't have anything to do with cult activities, right?
Well, you know, they wanted to know if I had time to go to cult activities in the evenings.
And so you provided this information, they just didn't put it down or they wouldn't listen to you?
Well, every time I started saying something about it, they changed the subject.
Now, as I understand it, you're sitting on the front porch at Jesse's house with him about what time that afternoon?
About 6 or 5:36, something like that.
Okay. And how long did y'all sit there?
For quite a bit of time. I mean, it wasn't for maybe an hour and a half.
Now his girlfriend was Susie Brewer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was she sitting out there with y'all?
Not at that. I mean, not at that time. She was she was walking around, but she had left after we seen them over at Johnny's.
So you see the two of them together at Johnny's. And is this Johnny Hamilton or Johnny Deadman?
Johnny Hamilton.
Okay. Did y'all ever go to Johnny Deadman's?
I didn't.
Did you know whether Jessie did?
No.
Okay. And you're sitting there on the front porch, and Susie Brewer, she's nowhere around, correct?
Not that. No.
Now, are you good friends with Susie?
We're friends.
Okay. What about Stephanie Dollar?
I've just recently, got acquainted to her. I didn't know her that well.
And is it your testimony that the first time you saw Stephanie Dollar that evening, she pulled up in her car?
No, sir. I seen them when they were down talking to the police, and her and Jessie were talking to the police, and he was trying to tell them where they could find Bobby Dollar.
He was telling the police that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
To where they can, because there was supposed to be a fight or something.
Okay, so Jessie went down there to help kind of clarify all this disturbance.
Yes, sir.
Okay, which officer was it that Jessie talked to? Do you recall?
No, sir. I don't know none of them cops up around it.
Okay, was the officer in his vehicle or was he outside the vehicle when Jessie was talking to him?
I don't remember.
Okay. But you recall Jessie going down there to talk to the officer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, did you know any of these guys who were involved in this wrestling deal at Deese?
I knew all of them except for that Bill guy.
Okay. And you knew Fred Ravel?
Ravel, yes, sir.
He also goes by Fred James?
I didn't know he went by that. I just know him by Fred Ravel.
Okay. And those guys had been going down there wrestling for about a month prior to May 5th, hadn't they?
Yes, sir.
Pretty frequently?
Somewhere around in there.
2, 3, 4 times a week?
I don't remember how often, but I just know they were going before then.
Okay. Had you seen them take off to go down there wrestling?
Yeah, I've seen them a couple times leaving.
Okay. And they continued to go down there even after May 5th, didn't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you see them after May 5th?
What do you mean? Did I
you see them leaving to go down there at times after May 5th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what crystallizes your memory about this being May 5th? Is it Jessie walking up and talking to the police officer down there at the end of the street?
No, sir. It's the fact that I remember Stephanie Dollar pulling up in front of Jessie's house, and they were talking about the incident that happened with the police.
And when you say pulling up, she's in a vehicle,
She's
right?
in her car.
Okay. And that's the same day you say that you saw Jessie talking to the police officer?
Yes, sir.
How many police cars were there when Jessie was down there talking to him?
I believe it was one.
Okay. Do you know Officer Dollahite?
No, sir.
Have you ever talked about what went on May 5th with Jessie Misskelley Sr.?
Not completely. I've told Jesse's attorneys about what's happened, but I've never really sat down and talked to Jessie Sr. about it.
Okay. And I guess when you talked with their attorneys, you told them a bunch of these details about what you're telling us about what went on May 5th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But that isn't contained in the police statement that they took from you?
No, sir.
Had the officers allowed you to talk about that, would you have told them?
Yes, sir.
I object to leading. This is his witness.
Sustained.
Would the officers let you talk about Jessie?
All right, same objection. He's leading witness. He can ask any questions. Allow his witness to testify.
You talked to the police in October,
Yes, sir.
and they wanted to know about this cult.
Yes, sir.
Did they say that Jessie said you were a part of a cult?
Yes, sir.
Were you?
No, sir. I've
You never known Jessie to be a part of a cult?
No, sir.
Did you try to tell the police what you knew about May 5th and seeing Jessie?
Every time I even mentioned him being my friend, anything about May 5th, they would change the subject.
Do you remember
and start talking about the cult.
Do you remember talking to Mr. Crow in September about the events of May 5th?
Yes, sir.
And you told him basically what you testified here today?
Yes, sir.
Pass the witness.
Just one other question. It is true that Jessie Misskelley introduced Vicki Hutchinson to Damien Eccles, right?
Yes, sir. He said that he had knew Damien from school.
Okay. And Jessie knew him well enough that he was able to introduce Vicki to him, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And no further questions, John.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Could you please state your name for the court?
Jessie Lloyd Misskelley Sr.
You need to lean up as close to the mic as you can so everybody can hear you. I take it that you're familiar with Jessie Misskelley Jr.?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell the jury how you're familiar with him?
It's my son.
Okay. And where do you live, Mr. Misskelley?
Marion, Arkansas, Highland Trailer Park.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you employed, Mr. Misskelley?
Jim McNease, Repair Service.
Okay. Were you employed there back in May of 1993?
Yes, sir.
And more specifically, were you employed there on May the 5th of 1993?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember the events that took place on May the 5th of 1993?
Yes, sir.
And how can you remember those events?
Well, that was my first day of DWI school. I had to go to DWI school to get my driver's license back.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? You recognize that document?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Misskelley?
Yes, sir.
What is this document?
That's where my receipt where I paid them $50 on the day of the beginning of the class.
Your Honor, we would offer this as Defendant's Exhibit 5.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, it may be received without objection.
May I exhibit same to the jury, Your Honor?
Yes. You may.
So you had to go to DWI school on May the 5th?
Yes, sir.
And what time did you leave Jim's repair shop?
Well, I left at 5:30 because they wanted me to be there early to make the payment. This class started at 6 and was supposed to have lasted until 8. But they let us out at 7 o'clock.
Okay, so you left the DWI school at 7 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
And where did you go from there?
I came straight home. About 15 minutes after when I got home.
15 minutes after what?
After 7.
After 7
Yes, sir.
p.m.?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember seeing anybody when you got home?
Well, I see all those police cars were leaving out as I was coming in the trailer park, and I got scared they was going to get me for driving on suspended license, so I hurried up and went home. And then my son Jesse came in, and I asked him what was going on. And
Talking about the defendant?
Yes, sir. And he said that the police were called out there because Connie Molden had pulled Stephanie's little boy, Cody, off the bicycle by the hair of the head and slapped him. And they called the police out for that. And then when Bobby Jr. come in, with Stephanie's husband, him and Connie's husband, Melvin, got into it. They got in almost a fight down there. And they called the police back out there again. And they were leaving out that I was going in about 7:15.
Okay. You know where they were leaving to or where they were going?
They were going back to the sheriff's office, I guess.
No, I'm talking about Jesse.
Oh, Jesse, he left about 7:30 to go to Deese, Arkansas to wrestle.
You know who he went with?
Johnny Hamilton, Freddie Revelle, Josh Darby, little Dennis Carter, and there was some other guy, Bill something or other, I don't know his name.
But you didn't see any of the guys get in the car and actually leave?
I didn't see any of them leave, no, sir.
Do you remember the day that Jesse got arrested?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember having a conversation with little Jesse and Officer Allen about the reward money?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what the nature of that conversation was?
Well, Mike Allen and Jesse was joking about, he said $40,000 reward. Said if they get a conviction out of this, that Jesse will get the $40,000 reward and he's going to buy him a new truck. And Jesse laughed and said, no, I'm not either. He's going to buy my daddy a truck and I'm going to take his old one.
Pass the witness.
I want to be sure I understand this correctly, Mr. Misskelley. It's your testimony that you came home from DWI school when, on the 5th?
Yes.
When did you come home?
It was 7 o'clock when I got out of DWI school.
Okay, and it's your testimony that the police cars were still there?
Yes, they were leaving out when I got there. Okay. I was coming in about 7:15, and the police cars were leaving out.
And your son was at the house?
He came to the house after I got there.
Okay. So that would have been what time?
About 7:15.
Okay. What happened there at the house?
Well, he just came in, and I asked him what the police were doing out there, and he told me what they were doing there, and he said, well, I'm fixing to go to wrestle. And he left out and went around behind the house and got into, I don't know what kind of vehicle it was. It was sometime they go in the car, sometime they go in the truck.
Well, after your son was arrested, did you grant certain television interviews for reporters and things like that where you went on TV?
Yeah, I imagine I did, yes.
No, I'm going to ask him about some statements he made while he was on TV.
Go ahead.
Did you go on TV and make some statements?
I imagine I did. There was a bunch of news reporters there, yeah.
Okay. Do you recall making the statement that your son may have been there, but you didn't think he was involved in it?
That was before I found out. That was before I went to work on the case and found out that he was not there. I didn't have proof or anything. I said he may have been there. I do not know. I said, but if he was there, he didn't have anything to do with killing those boys.
Well, you remember all the publicity, and you knew the day it was that the kids came up missing, right? I mean, everybody in West Memphis and Marion knew that day, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And it'd been in the papers for a month that May 5th was the day they came up missing, right?
Well, yeah, that's when they came up missing, yeah.
Okay. And that's the same day that you said you have such a graphic memory because that was the first day you attended DWI class.
That's right.
Okay.
Your Honor, if he's going to impeach him using a television interview, can you at least tell the jury what the date of the interview was?
No, I'm just asking about a prior statement.
Go ahead.
The statement had to have been made after June the 3rd.
Had to be made after your son was arrested,
That's
correct?
right.
And everybody knew he was arrested for murders that occurred on May 5th, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and you say that May 5th was the date that stood out in your mind, correct?
I know that's when I was in DWI school.
Okay, but yet days after your son's arrest, you're telling people on television that he could have been there.
That was before I started investigating it myself. Nobody else would.
And was that before Stephanie Dollar started going around and handing out police reports to people in Lakeshore Park? Or Lake Highland Park?
Police reports?
Yes, sir.
No.
Okay. Have you talked with any of these witnesses that have testified here today about time frames, where they were on May 5th, what was going on?
No.
Okay. You haven't discussed with them what their testimony was going to be about where they were, where they may have seen Jessie, anything like that on May 5th?
All I told them is tell the truth.
You hadn't discussed any details with them?
No, I have not.
And that's as true as everything else you testified
That's right.
to. Now, Mr. Misskelley, you are a convicted felon, correct?
Am I on trial here?
John, would you ask the witness to answer the question?
Just answer the question, yes or no, please.
That's right.
How many other times besides May 6th did you attend DWI school during the month of May?
If you look at it again, it was May the 5th.
May the 5th. How many other times besides May 5th did you attend DWI school?
I attended the whole month of May.
Okay. How many times?
4 times.
4 times. And during that time period, you remember anything specific about the other 3 occasions? Get out early on those times?
Yes, sir.
Every time?
Yes, sir.
Remember what time?
No, sir, I don't remember what time, but it was out early every time. We stayed at least an hour, or sometime an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half.
1 second, Sean. Pass the witness, Sean. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Now you may stand down and go back to back, please. Go back to.
Please take your name for the court.
James O. McNease, better known as Jim.
Okay. Can I call you Jim?
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Jim, where do you live?
I live in West Memphis, Arkansas, Route 2, Box 119, Marion.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a mechanic for myself and also the railroad.
Which
I
railroad?
own my own business.
Which railroad would that be?
UP Railroad in Little Rock.
Okay. Do you remember May the 5th of 1993?
Yes, sir, I sure do.
Why do you remember that date?
Well, I had to close my own shop and it kind of upset me.
Why did it upset you?
Well, Jesse's been working for me about 3 or 4 years, and he always opened and closed for me.
Now you're talking about Jessie Sr.?
Jessie Sr., yes, sir. And I had to stay that day and close on account of he had to go to DWI school. At 5:30, he left the shop, and I had to stay and close for him.
What time did you close up the shop?
About 6:15.
So 6:15 p.m. you closed the shop up, and then what'd you do?
I went straight to the house.
How far do you live from
2
the
blocks.
shop?
2 blocks.
Did you walk or drive?
I drove.
Okay. Did you happen to see the defendant, Jessie Misskelley Jr., that afternoon?
Yes, sir. He was at the corner where I live, my home. Him and I'll get his name right in a minute. Dennis Carter was out coming down the road. And
did you talk to him at all?
Yes, sir. I went out and was asked them where they were headed, and they said, we're going to go practice wrestling after a while. And I was picking
I
at
object to anything witnesses may have said. This is hearsay. And would ask that the jury be admonished not to consider it.
Sustained.
You can't testify as to what anything someone told you. That would be hearsay, so we just need to stick with what you saw or heard.
Okay.
When was the last time that you seen Jessie?
About 6:30.
Where was he at then? Or was that the same time?
No, he was at the end of the street talking to the deputy sheriff.
At 6:30 p.m.?
Yes, sir. They were called out, and I walked out to the edge of the road to see what was going on. And him and the the other kids was at the car talking to the deputy sheriff.
And that was the last time you seen him on May the 5th?
Yes, sir.
Can I have a minute, Your Honor? Mr. McNease?
Yes, sir.
You say that you seen Jessie and Dennis Carter out in the street?
Yes, sir.
Did you say anything to them? You
Yes,
can't
sir.
testify what they told you, but did you say anything to them?
Yes, sir.
What did you tell them?
I went out and was picking at him, and he comes up. He always hugged me, and he came up and he put his head in my chest, and I was rubbing his. I had like a crew cut, and I asked him, I said, "What are you fixing to do?" And he said, "I'm going wrestling after a while." And I said, "You're not big enough to go wrestling. You're not big enough to fat the gnats off your ass. Much less go wrestling, boy." And that's exactly what I said.
Pass away.
You said Jessie had a crew cut at that time, is that right?
It was short hair. I called it a crew cut. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a professional crew cut, but it was short hair.
Now, you say when you saw him at 2 different times that evening?
Yes, sir.
And the first time, where was he?
Right in front of my house, where the roads cross. I live in the corner. When I turn into my driveway, him and little Dennis was coming down the street.
Okay.
And
Was there anybody else around them, or was it just him and Dennis coming
just
down?
him and Dennis at that time.
Okay, so this is about what time?
I closed at about 6:15. It was around 6:15, 6:20.
Were there any police cars there then?
No, sir.
Okay. And so you got him coming down the street with little Dennis Carter?
I saw him, yes, sir.
Okay.
Talked to him.
See any women out there or girls at that time?
Not at that particular minute. I didn't see him, which I
Okay.
wasn't looking for him.
Okay, then the next time you see him at 6:30, he's out talking to the deputy sheriff, I believe you said.
The deputy sheriff's car was sitting in this guy's driveway at the end of the street, and then all of them kids. There was a whole group of kids around him talking to the deputy sheriff.
Okay, how many cars were there at that time?
One deputy sheriff's car.
Okay, and you said Jesse's down there talking with him?
Yes, sir.
Now, Detective Durham with the West Memphis Police Department came out to talk to you back on June 11th of last year, correct?
Who?
A Detective Bill Durham of the West Memphis Police Department attempted to take a statement from you.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench, please?
Okay.
Your Honor, we've been through this twice before. I think what he's going to try to do is impeach the witness by saying that Mr. Stidham told him not to talk to the police, and that matter's already been discussed twice, and I think that objection's been sustained to the police.
Well, I'm gonna allow you to develop that.
Your Honor, would you note our objection, please? Yeah.
Members of the West Memphis Police Department, specifically Bill Durham, came to talk to you back in June, just a few days after Jessie Jr. was arrested. Do you recall that?
No, sir. He did not come to me.
Okay. Did he telephone you?
He telephoned me. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And when he telephoned you, he asked you what you might know about Jessie's whereabouts.
He asked me if I'd give him a statement, and I said, "No, sir, I will not," over the telephone.
And in fact, you never did give him any
I
statement
did.
regarding any information concerning Jessie Misskelley Jr., did you?
Nobody even came and approached me after that.
Well, you've got one of these yellow ribbons on. What does that stand for?
And that says Jessie Jr.
Okay. Have you ever made an attempt to go to the West Memphis Police Department have you ever told a law enforcement officer what you testified to here today?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you ever made an attempt to go up there and do that?
No, sir.
And in fact, when the officer contacted you, you told him you weren't going to give him a statement until you had talked with Jesse Jr.'s attorney, correct?
I told him I wasn't going to give nobody a statement over the telephone.
And you told him you'd have to talk with Jesse's attorney before you even talked to him, right?
I told I'd been advised that everything we had said had been used against little Jesse, and I was not going to give him any statement allowed I had attorney present.
Okay. No further questions, sir.
All right, you may stand down. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Stand down.